Hi, I'm Madeline from Mad About Food, and while we're all hanging out at home, I thought it'd be fun to teach you guys more about the cooking basics. The main things that I think most cooks can agree on is that good knife skills help you a ton in the kitchen. So for me, I was a little bit overwhelmed by the number of knives that you see in a traditional kitchen knife block, right? So you can see like up to 9 knives in a traditional kitchen knife block, and it's kind of misleading because you don't need that many knives to be a good home cook, especially if you're young and you're just stocking your first kitchen. You can have 3 basic knives and do basically everything you need with those 3. So I'm gonna start with this, just like a standard chef's knife. You're gonna look for one when you're, especially if you're a beginner chef, one that's 8 to 10 inches for the blade. This is from Global. I got it on Amazon. It's very lightweight, so it's easy in the hand of a beginner chef. It's still gonna have a pretty sharp blade, even though it's a beginner's knife. And this is gonna be the knife that I use for pretty much everything in my kitchen. The next knife you're gonna wanna have is a small paring knife. This is another one that's super affordable, easy to get online. The blade, again, will be pretty sharp on this, but it's smaller, really light in your hand. So this is something that you're gonna wanna use to, like, say, cut a bad spot out of a potato. You can use this for mincing if it's a smaller item like a shallot. And then the third knife you're gonna wanna get is a serrated edge knife. You'll probably see these in a standard knife block, but it has this little, like, wavy edge to it. This is a knife that I will use to cut any kind of fruit that has a thicker skin you need to get through, so something like a tomato. You can use a little bit of like a sawing action to get through the skin of that item. So I'm gonna put my other 2 knives to the edge, to the side for now, and just talk about this chef's knife. Like I said, it's what I use for pretty much everything. So I'm gonna talk about gripping the knife. So you're gonna wanna take the knife in your dominant hand. I am a righty, so I'm gonna hold it like that. You're gonna put your thumb right here on the edge there, and then your pointer finger on the other side, like that. And with the heel of your hand and the rest of your hand, you're gonna grip the knife. So you're gonna have a nice grip here, and that's how you're gonna wanna hold a knife. The reason you do it like this instead of just holding the handle like this is you have more control over the blade if your thumb and forefinger are up here controlling the knife versus just holding it back here and kind of like trying to control this blade with your hand back here. Once you have your grip on the knife, you wanna talk about your other hand. This hand is usually the hand that's gonna get cut if you're cutting in a kitchen. So there's a couple ways you can hold your fruits and vegetables and other things you're chopping so that you do not slice any fingers. So you're gonna wanna tuck your thumb in always. You don't wanna leave your thumb hanging out. And you're gonna wanna keep your other fingers curved in like this. And you're gonna lead against your knife, against that edge of your finger as you cut, and kind of sweep through the item like this. And as you're sweeping down with the blade, you're moving this hand back slowly, 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 and that will allow you to get those even slices. All right, so once you know how to hold your knife, we're gonna talk about a couple of the different cuts that you're gonna make in the kitchen. So one you've probably heard of is dicing. So most common thing that you're gonna dice is an onion, and we're gonna talk about that in a different video as well. But dicing in general, when you're not talking about an onion, means dicing things into a cube. So a lot of things that you'll see diced in recipes are onions, potatoes, celery, garlic, some carrots. So that's anything in a cube. There's different sizes of dicing. So if you want to do a large diced potato for a soup, you might do an inch by an inch by an inch is your dimension. If you want a smaller diced potato for, say, a hash browns, you're going to have it maybe be a 1/4 inch by a 1/4 inch by a 1/4 inch. It's a fine dice. You don't have to be perfect if you're a home cook. That's just a estimate. Then another thing is a chop. A chop just means everything's gonna be around the same size. So you could even call this a chop if you're making every half moon on the celery just about the same size. That can be a chop. Now, a rough chop is a chop that you're not really worried about the size. So one thing I learned when I was learning about cutting items is that round rolls. So if you can cut off a piece of your item so that it is flat and doesn't roll on your cutting board, it's gonna be a lot safer for you. So for example, with this potato, if I was going to dice this into cubes for hash browns, I would cut off this end first, and then I have a flat bottom for my potato to stand on, and then I can go down the center like this and cut the 2 halves. And then I have flat and flat again. So it's just an easy way to make sure that you're not injuring yourself by these round items rolling around, sliding around on your cutting board. Potatoes are a really good way to practice your knife skills because they're soft, they're pretty cheap, and no matter how you cut them, you're gonna be able to cook them and enjoy them later. All right, so another cut that you might have heard of or that you might wanna try is either matchsticks or Julienne. They're kind of similar. A matchstick is just a little bit thicker and a Julienne is very thin. They're all little like sticks though. When I make carrots and dip for Amy for work, I make little matchsticks out of carrots. So it's another good way to practice your knife skills, and you can apply this matchstick method to make thinner French fries out of the potatoes. So I take my carrot, I probably would put this into like thirds or so. So I'll cut off about a third of it and put that to the side, and then I'll apply my principle of round rolls, and I'll take it like this and cut it in half like that. Put it flat down on the cutting board again. So we're seeing I'm rarely cutting it when it's round except for when it's a full carrot. And then I'll take it from the side like this and cut it into little matchsticks like that. And those will be good for Amy for dipping for her lunch. But if you wanted them even thinner, so like more like a Julienne, you just take one of those matchsticks from the side and cut it even thinner little strips out of it. And then you got a Julienne. So that's kind of a good way to practice some of your knife skills. Like I said, you can use a potato. I used a potato a lot when I was first starting. I would literally just sit at my parents' countertop like this all night and just do the slices. And these work really well for things like breakfast potatoes, whatever, but you can see that I have all varying sizes here, but the longer you do that, the more comfortable you're gonna get with holding your knife like this and having control of the knife. So I hope you guys liked this little video on knife skills. I have a lot more ideas where this is coming from, so be sure to follow along. I'm gonna link my blog post as well that relates this whole thing. So on the blog, I'll have more information as well as links to the knives that I am using here.